So hello everyone, welcome to Chaplin Talks. Once again, I am with my dad, none other than the Eugene Chaplin, who you all know very well by now. Hi, Dad.
I
Okay, so we thought we would make a two-part video. Well, two-part. Let's do part one for now, which is your favorite Chaplin films. Because I've been asked quite a few times by people. It's like, what are your favorite Chaplin films? So instead of me answering my top five or whatever, it doesn't have to be top five, it can be whatever. I thought it'd be more interesting to find out your favorite Chaplin films and see we can see if
oh
ours match.
well, okay.
I know it's tough. Is it a tough one for you?
Yes, because it all depends on what kind of mood I'm in.
And
Um,
would you say though? Would you say that they're quite obscure, or are they going to be quite like the what everyone expects, all the classics?
well, obscure. Tell me an obscure Chaplin film. I don't know one, but look, as I go for now, because you'll ask me tomorrow, I'll change it around.
Okay.
But with let's start with uh, let's start with Dog's Life. I love the title.
Yeah.
A Dog's Life. And the reason I chose it first because it's so true. Being down in the dumps is a dog's life.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love it. And then plus there's the story with the dog. And I guess it's one of these first films as well, which uses emotion. And, it's not totally pure comedy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of emotion in it as well.
Yeah, for sure. And for people who don't know, what's the story? Because I mean, the way I haven't seen that film in so long when I think about it, but isn't it that he tries to
So
sneak into a
what
restaurant?
it's about.
No. But he tries to sneak into a restaurant, right? With a dog, for
Well,
example, and
it's basically the tramp walking around, and he's tired and he goes to sleep in a dump,
mm-hmm,
outside dump, and all. The dog arrives. The dog steals some sausages from a stand
mm-hmm.
and goes in the same dump as Charlie the tramp is. And this relationship with the dog starts. And as you say, he tries to go into a restaurant and hides the dog in his trousers. There's a famous scene which I love. Is there's two robbers who are just stolen some money from someone. He follows them around. It's difficult to explain, but he hides behind a curtain
Mm-hmm.
and knocks out one guy and puts his hands through, and a whole comedy act starts with
Yeah.
him pretending to talk. And you have to see it. It's like something. It's very visual and difficult to explain.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I actually remember that scene really well. I don't remember the whole film that well, but I actually remember that scene quite well. No, interesting. Okay, I didn't expect you to say that.
And as well, the dog. It's a kind of happy ending as well, which is nice. He ends up as a kind of farmer and all, and the dog is there with a litter of pups.
Yeah. Have you seen all the Charlie Chaplin films? Have you seen? Because there's a whole bunch of them, isn't there? Including the shorts and everything. There's got to be a lot.
Well, I like to say I think so.
I know, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's good. I love the shorts. When you talk about Chaplin films, you have the first ones, which are hilarious because it's just pure slapstick. But some of it, like The Bank
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, is slapstick at its best. And then he goes into more sentiment, uh, more emotion into the other films, and then he becomes very socially engaged, obviously much later with Modern Times, Dictator,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah. No, for sure. And do you think is his first film where he really starts to mix emotion with laughter?
Well, the first obvious one, I would say, even though he started before that, but the obvious one is The Kid.
But there was no films before that.
Short films like
Mm.
like A Dog's Life, I think,
Yeah.
was a bit the beginning of that.
Yeah, because it's interesting because when you watch a lot of these old slapstick films, I mean, they were pure slapstick. It's just like guys slipping over banana skins, pies in the face, or whatever you want to call it, you know? So it's quite interesting to see the switch.
Yeah, well, like he said, I think if you want to make people laugh, you have to know how to cry. It's like a feeling. It's the famous joke where someone is with a hammer hitting on his fingers, and you say, "Why are you doing that?" He says, "Because when I stop, it feels so good."
Yeah, and there's a
And
really, when I was talking to Nick Rhodes from Duran Duran, he was talking about this really funny thing. I don't know if it was in his autobiography or whatever, but he was having talking to someone, and Charlie says, he's like, someone asked him like, how do you keep being so funny or something like that? He was like, what happens is that, there's a guy, he's walking along the street and there's a big banana skin on the floor. But what happens is the guy steps over the banana skin and falls into a manhole.
yeah, exactly.
It's quite funny.
It's to surprise the people as well, not to do what is expected.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, so that's a good first choice. So what's next?
My other one I love very much is Payday.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it has one of the best sketches of all time. The guy who works his ass off so hard, and the wife is waiting for him when he comes out of work to get the money off him. And obviously, he manages to hide one or two bills into his other pocket, gives the money to his kind of very cliche dominating wife who takes the money and walks off with it.
Yeah.
And he has a little bit left, and he goes out with the lads for a drink and gets very, very drunk.
Yeah.
And stays up all night drinking and having fun. And he tries to get back home, and it's raining, and all kinds of things happens to him. And eventually he gets home, so he puts the key very gently into the door, opens the door, and tries to tiptoe into bed. And he gets into the room, and she's there, obviously sleeping. He gets undressed and just gets into bed. And the moment he closes his eyes, the alarm goes off. So he quickly gets up, gets dressed, and pretends he's going off to work. Biggest nightmare ever, yeah.
It's funny. Didn't he played a drunk in the Fred Carno days? Wasn't that his big claim to fame?
Well, that's what made Max Sinnott, who spotted him. Obviously, he had other parts in Fred Carno, but it's true he was well known to be the drunkard. Interrupting the performance, and first the people weren't too sure was it
is it real or not?
The audience, if he was part of the audience or part of the show.
Yeah. No,
and when Max Sinnott saw him, he thought he was a real drunk, but thought he was a funny one. So he sent a telegram and said, "Please, I want Chaffin," I think he said, instead of Chaplin. "I want Chaffin to come over." My dad went over, and Sinnott saw him and said, "Like, hey, you're not the one I want. The one I want is the drunk one." So he had to react the drunk person to prove to him that he was the right person.
Yeah. How funny. Yeah. Okay, so number 3.
Okay, number 3. Let's go into one of the obvious ones.
Mm-hmm.
Is City Lights, of course.
Yeah.
City Lights is maybe the most perfect film ever done. Not only the story is it's fantastic, it's beautifully filmed. It was the first time he wrote music. Well, not the first time he wrote music, but it was the first time he wrote music for his own film.
It was his first. No, it wasn't his first score, was it? City Lights.
No, not his first
No,
score.
it wasn't. No.
He did everything exactly as he wanted, and it's a beautiful film. It makes you cry every time when you see it. And if you don't cry, you have goosebumps, and
For sure.
that's perfect.
No, I completely agree. And the more I see that film, and I've seen it 100 times already, but the more I see that film, the more I'm in awe of it. Because when you think about it, talking films had already been out a few years already, a good 3-4 years before that film came out. And he's decided to make this film. And you think, talking movies are the thing during that time. And he says, I don't want to do it. And then he goes and he makes this film, and the opening scene of the film, when when they're unveiling the statue.
Yeah.
And the guy starts talking, it's all gibberish. It's complete gibberish. And it's obviously Charlie, making fun of the whole industry, which I find interesting.
Well, I think he did City Lights, and I think he did a point because everyone was waiting for him. He said, "Oh, let's see when the little tramp starts talking. That's the end of them." So he did City Lights, and it didn't happen. And it continued with Modern Times, where suddenly you hear the voice, but still he doesn't speak.
He doesn't speak. It's true.
Yeah. And then, of course, he gets to The Great Dictator, and there the little tramp becomes the Jewish barber. It's not the little tramp anymore. It's the Jewish barber. And the Jewish barber speaks, and of course,
that's the big speech.
The rest, yeah.
No, it's true. Very smartly done. And it's got the world. City Lights has the world record of the most takes in one film. Still, I think to this day.
I'm not surprised. Well, I think my dad has the world's for most of these films. Yeah, that's why he had his own studio. He knew how important it was to have the things well filmed and exactly as he wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, he's a guy who he had a storyline, but all the gags and everything were worked out in the studio. It wasn't really written out like today. So it took a lot of time. It took a lot of rehearsing, and comedy is all on timing, and so he didn't want to miss anything, so he filmed everything. And I think the biggest part of the budget in his films was buying the film.
I can imagine
because he used so much of it.
Mm-hmm. And in those days, I mean, film was not cheap.
Well, it wasn't cheap, but not only that, you had to develop it. So he tried things, had it filmed, then you had to develop it, and then see the rushes, and then he would decide, would he keep it or not?
Mm-hmm.
And at times, you send the film off to be developed, and the laboratory, suddenly a mistake happened, and then you'd lose the negative. Okay. The thing doesn't happen properly, so you have to redo it all again. No, it was not the good old days of digital.
Yeah.
No,
for sure.
It was a whole procedure.
No, for sure. And if you go on, imdb.com, the website with all the internet movie database, is what it stands for. If you go on, they have a section that says, best movies of all time.
Uh-huh.
And I think City Lights is like in the top 5 or top 10 or something.
I'm sure.
I don't know what it is now, but there was a time where it was right at the top.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. I'm sure. I think everyone who sees it, I've seen it so many times and I love it each time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more people see it, you know, you can't go wrong, except if you don't like sentimental films, then
Yeah.
you might have a problem with
Do
it.
you have a favorite scene in that film or favorite part?
No, no, but I love the meaning of it, I love the idea of the tramp who is ready to do anything for this girl
Yeah. You know what my
who is
favorite
blind.
Yeah, my favorite part of the film, it's a tiny little part, but it's the bit where he walks around the corner and he first sees the blind woman and he pretends, obviously she mistakes and she hears the car door slam and all this kind of stuff. And then he sneaks off to go around the corner. But then
Yeah,
he
he
comes
comes back.
back and he sits down and she's rinsing her flowers out. And it's
That's
like this
right.
really nice, sentimental, beautiful, romantic kind of scene, really sort of emotional. And then she gets, she's rinsing out the thing and throws the
So,
water all over him.
yeah, no, to me, there's many, you know, the boxing scene is absolutely
Yeah.
incredible. Um, I think no one has managed to do better as for a boxing scene than in City Lights.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I think the end, what is so touching is, you know, he appears after being in jail for so long, and she's there and she can see, and she kind of laughs at him.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just it's all that it's just perfect.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Okay, so that's number three, right? Number four?
Yeah. Oh, and number four. Now, okay, well, I'll go for another obvious one for me. I think it's Limelight.
Yeah. And it's funny that you think it's an obvious one, but I don't know if people would necessarily call that one of his best films, compared to whatever you want to say, The Gold Rush or all these other films. But it is a great film.
I think it's brilliant, and I think it's. I think my father used the media of film as a do you say therapeutic kind of
Therapeutic.
thing for himself, and I think that's a typical one where he obviously he's getting old and he's kind of looking at his past life, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Limelight is a bit that. That's why I like it. Plus, again, it's a marvelous film. And you know what I love about it
Mm-hmm.
is there's not a nasty person in that film. There's no baddie at all.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Some people hate that, saying it's utopic and whatever, but I love it.
Yeah.
I wish life was like that.
Well, that's a great. There's so many great moments in that film as well, and a lot of when he speaks, there's a lot of great lines or a lot of great speeches in it as well.
Yeah, and it's nice and it's true. I don't know. I know a few clowns who have finished really down in the dumps,
Mm-hmm.
because they do that all their lives, and suddenly you get too old to do it, and they end up in a old people's home, and no one comes to see them, and all. It's true, and it's still true now. No, I like it, and plus, you know, somewhere along the line, he at the beginning of the film, he finds this ballet dancer who tries to commit suicide, and he saves her, and he dedicates his life from there on to try and make her better and go back into dancing again.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's just nice. What can I say?
Now, what's the matter?
I'll never dance again. I'm a cripple.
Pure hysteria. You've made yourself believe that.
It isn't true.
It is, otherwise you'd fight.
What is there to fight for?
Ah, you see. You admit it. What is there to fight for? Everything. Life itself, isn't that enough? To be lived, suffered, enjoyed. What is there to fight for? Life is a beautiful, magnificent thing. Even to a jellyfish. What is there to fight for? Besides, you have your art, your dancing.
Can't dance without legs.
I know a man without arms who can play a scherzo on a violin and does it all with his toes. The trouble is you won't fight. You've given in, continually dwelling on sickness and death. But there's something just as inevitable as death, and that's life. Life, life, life. Think of the power that's in the universe, moving the earth, growing the trees, and that's the same power within you, if you'll only have courage and the will to use it. Good night.
Yeah. And I still love the fact, I mean, I've shown it a million times already on the previous episodes, but the fact that you get Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin in the same movie is great.
Yeah, that you're talking as a historically, it's true.
Historically. I mean, but to have to two of the biggest worlds, the world's biggest sort of comedians or whatever you want to call them, or filmmakers, and they join. It's almost like they join forces.
I just think personally, he did that. Some people said he did that to help him out or whatever, but for sure, more than anything else, he used them because he was still good.
Yeah.
For that part, maybe you would have chosen someone else. I don't know, but I think at the time, first he was available, and he was the right person for that part in the film.
Yeah, yeah. Did you watch that? I sent you a video. I don't know, whenever it was, a couple of weeks ago, and it was off the sketch of Limelight, but he was on a talk show. And from what I understand, apparently Buster Keaton kind of had that sketch already kind of made, and then it ended up in the film. I don't know if it was a famous bit already or not.
I haven't a clue.
Yeah.
I haven't a clue. The only thing I know, my mother told me, is that he was at the end of his career. He had all kind of problems, financial problems, health problems, and all. And my dad used them. Now, was that sketch already done? Was it already part of something? I haven't a clue.
Mm-hmm.
But Claire Bloom told me, and I hope she forgives me if it's not true. But I remember she said to me that apparently in the dressing room he had a picture of a big house or something like that, and he said to Claire Bloom, "Look, see, all that was mine."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
how interesting.
Sad.
Yeah. Interesting though, but regardless of all of that stuff, when you do watch that, the scene where they're on stage together, you can tell. Obviously, Buster Keaton still got it, because it just makes a wonderful.
It's all these people of the music hall. They have it in them, and they stay like that. Stan Laurel as well. to the end he was, except he stopped working once his partner died, but they still had it. They finished their lives as well on stage.
Yeah, no, for
which
sure.
I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. And so, do you have any others? Any other films you recommend to people, or that your favorites?
One I love as well is The Pilgrim. I think it's a very sarcastic comedy story about religion. I think there's a lot of truth about it, but without going too deep, I think the idea of the sketch is great.
Yeah. Yeah, God, I haven't seen that in so long. I can't even tell you.
But that's all brilliant ones. They're funny because in a way they're still actual. You know, there's some kind of truth in it.
Well, for sure.
Still now, and it's funny. And I think all the pantomime he does in that, if you go to watch it, it's when he's in the church and he does the miming of David and Goliath, the fight. It's absolutely hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries to run away with the money box after everyone gave the money. He tries to run away with it, but he can't get out of the church with it. And there's the hilarious bit as well where he's the priest and he's in some not high society, but some do-well family
mm-hmm.
who has a horrible child who doesn't stop smacking him.
Yeah.
Slapping him in the face.
Yeah, that's one of the funniest scenes.
And he's the priest and all, and he can't answer back. You know,
that's one of my favorite scenes of that.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, funny. Okay, so let's do one more Chaplin film.
Well, look, I think one of the very good ones. There's so many. It's difficult, but
mm-hmm.
maybe one of his best ones, and I love the dark humor about it. It's Monsieur Verdoux.
Yeah. See, that's one of my favorites. That's probably my favorite. Yeah.
It's the darkest humor ever, and it's funny because he's a murderer. He kills all these women because they're so impossible. They're all trying to rip him off as well, anyhow.
Yeah.
Because they think he's rich and all. He kills them all. You know, it's a bit like the TV series Dexter.
Yeah.
You know, Dexter goes around and kills all these murderers and all, and you don't want him to be caught.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a horrible guy. You know, he's killing everyone. Mr. Verdoux is the same.
Yeah. There's so many great scenes to that film. One of them, which is I always remember that you showed me, or the first one to show me was the scene where they're on the boat. Yeah, on the boat. Yeah, it's so funny.
No, it is funny, and they say, "What is over there?" And he says, "Oh, it's yodelers." Why are they yodeling?
What's that?
A yodeler.
Oh, that ruins everything.
Certainly does.
Too bad we couldn't find a place all to ourselves.
Certainly is.
After all the plans we made.
Yes.
Oh, he's looking at us through field glasses. Yeah, we better take this off. You'll think you're murdering me.
And then there's the scene where he goes into I need to watch it again, but it's so funny. He goes into the house, and obviously there's the woman he's trying to marry. There's he's trying to kill, should I say? And there's all her family or servants around, whatever you want to call them. And he's just stressing out because everyone is so stressful, and he's trying to kill one person, and then he's running around trying to do something else.
I know.
And it turns into the most stressful thing ever.
No, it's true. In the same time, he has the other side of him where he's in the rose garden cutting roses.
Yeah.
And smelling roses, you know, and suddenly hears the horrible voice of one of his wives coming.
I know, that's when you're hoping he will kill her.
Yeah.
No, it's true. And once again, at the end of the film, he does an amazing speech. Again.
Yes, of course.
Which is really interesting because he obviously put a lot of thought into what he was saying.
He does a speech. It's against death penalty and all that. You know. Yeah, it's all things I guess he felt very strongly,
Oh, for sure.
and he expressed them in these films.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, great. So for everyone, go and check out those films if you haven't. I'm sure you can find them all online, or you can rent them somewhere. You can buy it. I'm sure. Don't ask me. I have no idea. But just
The best DVD shops. And
DVDs aren't around anymore. Go on charliechaplin.com and have a look, because that's probably the best place where you can find out where all this that stuff is. And so yeah, no, thank you very much. We're gonna do a part 2 after this. We'll do quickly some general films that you like as well. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dad.
all right. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.